Peace, y'all. How are you today? Gorgeous day here. The sun is shining bright. So we're just going to go for another little walk here. Let's see what we got going on. This will be Asha Logos. I believe this is to be his most important one in the pursuit of clarity. Episode number 5. This is from a guy named Al in Asheville, Louisiana, I believe. Let's go.
And it reads as follows. I wanted to direct a message to those subversive elements that have largely hijacked our governments and economies over the past few decades. And by doing so, speak to both sides of the ideological fence of a struggle that seems to be nearing a flashpoint. As I write this, thousands are in the streets in Paris, and millions around the world are watching. And I assure you, this is only an opening salvo, a prelude. The energy being given expression here is very similar to that which you'll be seeing over the coming months and years, and represents a furious, desperate reaction to your out-of-control, parasitic corruption. You've been given chance after chance after chance to act more justly, to alter your path, if only enough to allow for some steam release valve to be triggered to calm the situation. You've instead chosen, in line with your insatiable mindset, to double down and become even more deceptive and scheming than ever. The world is waking, and waking at a pace you probably didn't expect. Your bought and paid for press has been outed as a propaganda tool, so corrupt it no longer deserves the label news media. Your efforts to control thought and speech online, and your efforts to use artificial and contrived internet chatter to manipulate, are being outed and exposed left and right. You may still control the minds of tens of millions of the least aware and most naive, of those who least care to deeply understand their world. But for the first time, these NPC drones are opposed by nearly equal numbers of those able to see beyond the veil. And their energy is far more potent. As you lead the former group further and further away from the latter, you make a resulting explosion inevitable. And you should know that this explosion won't be the fault of those who react to your criminal behavior. The responsibility lies solely with those who are forcing their hand. Your goal of turning our world into a borderless shopping mall in which a small clique without moral compass or ethical constraints completely dominates the mass of humanity and sets the tone of their economies, cultures, political systems, and social structures is failing and will fail. There still exist men that refuse to cede their nations to jackals that care nothing for national interest or those of the citizens within them. Individuals that refuse to allow a world to be created in which their children will have to work twice as hard for half as much, where they'll be treated as second-class citizens on the streets of the nations their fathers built, where they'll be forced to welcome their replacement by foreign cultures with foreign values, and to do so with a smile, else risk career suicide or even criminal penalties. Your demand that we not only tolerate, but welcome higher crime rates, vastly decreased social cohesion and community bonds, increased societal chaos and tension, the death of our middle classes, and the establishment of an all-powerful technocracy, spearheaded by individuals that seem to despise us, is being rejected across the world. You've turned Paris, once the crowning cultural jewel of Europe, into something unrecognizable. San Francisco, once a quaint aesthetic paradise, is now covered in human feces, urine, needles, and despondent homeless, with much of the rest of California standing poised to soon follow. London has become the laughingstock of the world, a heavily surveilled nanny state which seems to be tripping over itself to embrace any and all anti-Western sentiment and ideals, and self-immolating in the process. You've made the once picturesque streets of Germany and Sweden too dangerous for young girls to walk at night. and fought aggressively to cover up the crimes against them in cases in which the offending party isn't of the racial group or culture you're seeking to smear. Within a few short decades, you've brought nations representing the peak of human civilization to their knees, to the brink of chaos and the rule of the jungle. And all of this is part of your personal quest for power and control and filthy lucre. The world is waking, and the world is very angry. We're aware you have money, all the money in the world, and you continue to do everything in your collective power to further rig the system to assure that that which you don't have, you soon will. But in case you haven't recognized, your money is beginning to lose much of its power with regards to its ability to genuinely move hearts and minds, to manifest social and cultural change. And your attempts to fund mass migrations are being increasingly exposed and opposed. Decades of an easy path to the top caused some of the worst men our species has ever produced to believe themselves to be gods, mistaking the success of their brazen and shameless dishonesty within formerly high-trust societies for merit or ability, carried away by their own faulty self-perceptions and absurdly inflated egos. It's only a matter of time before your involvement in human trafficking, drug running, organ harvesting, and your constant scheming to spark open conflict in the Middle East and Russia is fully exposed for all the world to see. We've not forgotten the 2 world wars you and yours so aggressively helped instigate and so wildly profited from, while 100 million plus lives around the world were snuffed out to help further improve your bottom line. I'm curious, how many of your relatives' sons and daughters fought in these wars? How much of this death and destruction you caused to this planet touched you personally? The sick joke is that everyone on both sides of the fence knows the answer to this question even before you provide it. The world has had enough of the well-rehearsed and teleprompter-induced drivel of individuals like Obama and Macron and Merkel and Juncker, of that smug and self-righteous tone of those like Hillary or Comey or Strzok,
or Trudeau,
escape justice for the highest of high crimes, the open coup attempt against a democratically elected president for daring to engage in a course correction in favor of the people of the United States, as opposed to the standard fare of service to a handful of banking families and their vassals and octopus-like tendrils stretched across the world.